and you can do this emotional freedom technique demo along with Mitch. So Alexis was so kind to just share this out with everyone so that you can feel better. And I believe the demo's on abundance.
It's true. We
and
thought that would be appropriate.
Yeah, having more prosperity, more money in your life. So excellent interview, excellent demo with Mitchell and Alexis Brown. So let's just go straight to that.
Hi, good evening. I'm Mitch Friedman, and I'm here tonight with a friend of mine, Alexis Brown. Good evening. How are you tonight, Alexis?
Good. How are you?
Really good, thanks. We're here tonight to talk to Alexis about emotional, I'm going to say this slow because I know how much Brandy loves this. Yeah. Emotional freedom technique, otherwise known, simply put, EFT. I know, Alexis, you have a little bit of a history, a medical background. You started with histology, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And I know there's a little bit some other things you also do in the medical field. If you could tell our audience a little bit about your background.
Sure. I got started years ago in histology, and basically what histology is the study of tissue. Anything that came out of the OR or the morgue came down to my lab to be analyzed, and even though it wasn't part of my job, as weird as most people thought that it was, I used to like to assist in autopsies. I've always been fascinated by the body, and that led me to aesthetics, which is the medical aesthetics, which is your facials, your IPLs, plastic surgery, even though I don't do plastic surgery, and permanent cosmetics. So I'm a medical esthetician. I do IPLs, laser hair removal, and my specialty in medical aesthetics is permanent cosmetics.
Excellent. Wow.
The interesting thing is having worked with people, I also had a fascination, not just with the human body, but with the energetics of the human body. And when you work on people, what I started noticing is I would start picking up things from them, either moods or feelings or whatever. And so I started studying more of the energetics. And when you're doing aesthetics and you have someone for an hour, you have unlimited time with them, you start to become like their psychologist. They talk, and you listen. And so what I found...
Just like a bartender.
Yeah, exactly,
and
exactly.
a hairdresser.
And so I had people that would say, you know what, I feel really good after, talking to you, not just the facial, but talking to you. So that's what led me into coaching, which also led me into learning about other modalities with the human body, the energy system. And then that's sort of how I fell into EFT.
Excellent. So when you say you studied a little bit more on energy work, tell me a little bit about that. How do you study the body's energy?
Well, basically, I just inhaled books. I went to seminars, I inhaled books. I started meditating, doing yoga. And so I started off with more of the soft systems, and just kind of monitoring with what I did and how that produced results with my own body or my own emotions. And then I started playing around with other people and making suggestions. I went so far as to, I was a raw foodist for a couple years.
Wow.
And I had a friend who told me about raw foods, and it's like, no, that's just too strict and too far out there for me. And then one day she said, look, it will increase your intuitive abilities. And I was getting into coaching, like, okay, I'll try it. And it was amazing just learning about how foods affect the body, and yes, it did.
And so when, the raw food, I imagine in raw food there's a whole lot different energy than there would be in cooked food. So is that one of the reasons why raw food would be something that would help you connect?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try that.
Well, and one of the little things
anyway.
that you can even do is fruits and vegetables that you buy in the grocery store.
Right.
Just set them in the sun for an hour or two before you eat them. It will absorb the energy from the sun, and then your body absorbs that energy.
Oh, that's such a great idea. A couple of books I've read, they've talked about blue water, where you put water in
I have the blue bottles at home.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Everybody's like, what are those?
I'm working on my energy.
Well, my family now doesn't even ask. They're like, oh, who knows? Don't ask.
Yeah, but I'm sure they get to see the benefits of all of that. So, tell us a little bit about EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. So Brandy and I did a show on that a couple of weeks ago, and we showed a clip from Gary Craig. Mm-hmm. And he talked a little bit about it, but in case people didn't see that show.
Pain was in every part of my body for many, many years. I stopped needing a doctor.
I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I cannot find any traces that it ever existed in my body.
I had over 80 allergies, and I was allergic to the world, basically. I am not allergic to anything. I can eat anything I want to.
Diabetes, post-traumatic stress disorder.
EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it's an emotional version of acupuncture, except we don't use needles. Instead, we address emotional issues. The emotional contributor to disease and ailments and physical things is far greater than the emphasis that's been given to it to date. All of us know intuitively that if we're carrying around angers and griefs and guilts and traumas, it shows up physically. If somebody is really angry, their stomach is tight, maybe the veins down out on their neck, their blood pressure goes up. Emotions cause physical things. Well, you keep that body a long period of time, now you're looking at diseases.
You know, in my own case, I got tired of giving medications which would just treat the symptoms and didn't really address what I thought was the underlying problem.
EFT, on the other hand, zeroes right in on it, and I think that's why we get results where nothing else will.
It's possible to clear emotional issues at a deep enough level that physical healing results.
Acupuncture relies on the fact that there are subtle energies that run throughout the body called meridians. If they're not flowing well, the body's health does not do well. And what I found was something just very stunning. If we stimulate these meridians, tapping on them with our fingertips, it tends to balance things out, and people that would have an intense emotional issue, it would just fade. Sometimes it would happen in minutes. Once you start taking care of these emotional issues and doing it correctly and really resolving them, physical things start to subside as well.
Immediately, I could control my pain levels.
I cannot think of one case it did not work on a migraine. My migraine was gone in 10 minutes.
I don't have diabetes anymore. I don't have to check my blood anymore. I gave my blood meter to my sister, whose cat has diabetes because he's overweight.
What we've really done is taken a very ancient, very well-established process, the ancient Chinese way of going about healing. We've dusted it off, and we've added an innovation or two, and this is the new forefront to me. We're on the ground floor of this new healing high-rise.
When I was 10 years old, I fell down a 25-foot hay chute that landed in a sitting position on a concrete landing, compressing my spine. I underwent my first back operation in 1971, a second one in 1972, a third one in 1979, a fourth one in 1984, a fifth one in 1992, and a sixth in 2002. With each surgery, the pain just got worse. I lived in pain my entire life. I lived on Tylenol with codeine 4. I took them like candy. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which was another devastating blow, and my response to that was, God, how much can I take? I was totally wheelchair bound for 5 years. EFT brought me out of the wheelchair, put me onto arm crutches, which my doctor said would never happen. Went from arm crutches to giving up Social Security disability and returning to work.
I see EFT cure things that are incurable all the time.
When it comes to the MS, I'm completely cured. It's gone. It's non-existent in my body. I'm 54 and I'm doing jumping jacks now.
I'm not saying by that we cure everything in a minute or two and in a session or two and so on, and some things take a lot longer than others, but we get astonishing results often.
So what we're going to do today is take a finger prick of blood from a few different people. We're going to take a look at it under a dark field microscope and actually look at what their live blood looks like. A person that's healthy, their live blood will look like a clean flowing river. And a sick person, clumping in just a murky swamp. Of those 6 people, 3 had blood picture that looked like there's some health issues that should be addressed. So we had those 3 people go through about 5 minutes of EFT.
This anger, all this resentment.
We drew their blood again, looked at it, and saw just total different blood pictures. No sign of clumping. I was speechless. When I could finally think again, I thought, I'm going to go home and just take my certificates, my degrees that took me years to get, and just tear them up and just, let's learn about this EFT.